In answer to the poem on page 104, yes. Yes, I do. What's up, Awesome Blossoms? It's Anna, and welcome back to my channel, The Poet's Corner. I know that I've been a bit AWOL. I just want to apologize. While I would love to film more often, life happens. So I do have a poetry book to share with you guys today that I'm super excited about, and that is Bare Roots by Molly S. Hillery. This poetry book is a wonderful collection to have for anyone who goes through depression, for anyone who has been heartbroken, for anyone who has had any type of eating disorder, and for people who have had none of those as well. I find it to be a great way to understand how people feel, and what better way for people to share their emotions than through poetry. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So Bare Roots has 6 different parts. Each part talks about a different area of what the author is going through. So there's a section on trauma, there's a section on mental illness, there's a section on love and on friendship, on womanhood, there's a section on searching for meaning, and there's also a section devoted purely to the reader, addressing the reader for the tough days that they go through. I love that she has actually labeled each section for what it represents. I find that to be really helpful, and also as a guide to what each poem represents in each section. For every section, there is something that you will relate to, no matter if you've never been through that experience. Human emotion is something that is shared across every experience of life, and I really do believe that no matter what you have been through personally, you can still relate on a certain level to what another person has gone through. And that is the beauty of being human and being alive. And I have dog-eared so many pages and written so many notes on this book because I have never been diagnosed with an eating disorder or depression or trauma, but there are things that I have gone through in my life that have made me feel depressed, have made me feel traumatized, have made me contemplate things that I don't think I would have contemplated if I had just had like a smooth sailing life, which as a side note, I don't think that exists. That being said, I relate to so much that goes on in this poetry book, and I think you all will as well. The section on womanhood is especially poignant for the reason I think that nowadays women's rights are becoming even more fought for and jealously guarded, and I think that is a good thing, and I think that that fight should continue to go on. And so her view on it and her take on it is so beautiful and so truthful as to what it's like to be a woman in the 21st century and have to deal with the social restraints of body image and freedom, and what it is to feel like you are an object in other people's eyes, to almost feel like you have to sell yourself to make a difference or to be considered a professional. All of those things that I think are things that all women feel at some point in their life, and the sad truth is that we live like it is inevitable, which I find very sad, and I feel that in my own life where all of those things are inevitable. I will, even if I haven't experienced it yet, I will in future, and that is very scary. And so I think it is important to have more conversations like this, more poetry and more prose written on how to deal with that, ways we can stop that from happening. And I think the best way is educating women, and there's no better way of doing that than writing and reading about it and talking about it. And the writing and the reading will lead to conversations about those topics. Another thing that she discusses, of course, is mental health. Molly S. Hillery discusses in great detail the types of thoughts that she was having while she was depressed. So there are a few trigger warnings. She does talk about suicide, she does talk about eating disorders, she does talk about depression. So just putting that out there, there are some trigger warnings, but they're not discussing them in a flippant way or a way that is disrespectful. Obviously, she is discussing them in a very mature way and in a way that I think a lot of people can relate to and find strength in to help them get better, which I think is so important. A lot of times, because people refuse to talk about certain subjects, I feel that people feel like their pain should be stifled because no one else is going through it, when that is so far from the truth. And so when people are brave enough to speak about their problems, to speak about the things that the thoughts that are going through their head, the desires that they are feeling when they know they shouldn't be feeling, and I think that it helps people realize that, one, I'm not alone, and two, if someone else can make it through, then so can I, and that is important. It is quite a thick book, but the poems are not pages and pages and pages long. A lot of them are very, very short, so it's very easy to read, but I think the thing that kept me from reading it probably in one night is the content, or the messages that she was writing about were so real and so deep that I have to sit down and process what she's saying. And the fact that she can say so much in so few words is such a gift. I think that a lot of times people talk a lot and they're trying to convey one message and they're speaking with so many words, and the message kind of gets lost in all of the verbiage, where authors who can say what they want to say in a purposeful and succinct way, I feel like they get their message across, and they get it across more quickly so that their audience is not bored or weighed down by all of the words. And so that's something I really appreciate about her poetry. She writes in very short messages, and yet they are so deep that they touch you in such a meaningful way. There is also artwork in this book, which is really nice. I always love it when artwork is included. I think that visuals help enhance the experience so much more, and so there's lots of artwork on every single page. Almost there is a piece of art to represent what is going on in the poem. Every section is titled with a piece of art. That's the last section, Buds of Hope. It's really nice to see how she's used plants to symbolize her growth and her recovery, and just the way that she has blossomed into a writer from all of this pain that she has been through. It is beautiful. I don't want to give away too much, but I will read a couple of her poems. So one of my favorites, it's on page 177, if when you get this you're looking for it. It says, "We are afraid of the truth, and we are afraid of ourselves. We are afraid the people we love will leave us if they know who we really are. We are afraid we will never be good enough or live up to expectations. We are afraid of living an unfulfilled life, yet we are afraid to die. Our worlds are quiet contradictions, and we can't make sense of it all. So we just do things instead." And the caption is, "Fear keeps us busy," which I have found that to be so true in my own life, that I am scared to branch out and discover new things, that I just do what I'm used to doing for so long. And I just find myself in this little rut, and I want to branch out, I want to experience new things, but the fear keeps me back. And so this year especially, I'm gonna start working on not letting that fear hold me back, because life is short. And a lot of times it's a lot shorter than we think it is. And so I don't want to be that person that at the end of their life looks back and says, I could have done so much, and yet I had nothing to be afraid of, or the fear shouldn't have been enough to keep me back. I don't want to be that person. So this year I'm going to try and experience new things. I'm going to get out of the house. I'm going to do things, even if it's by myself. But I do want to live. And so I feel like this poetry book has inspired me to do that. This woman has been through so many hardships, and yet here she is publishing a poetry book of her deepest and darkest experiences. I think if she can do that, I can get out of the house a little more. That's my take on Bare Roots. I definitely would recommend it. Give it to people, let them read it, let them experience it. It's a great gift. I will reiterate what I did say earlier about the trigger warnings. There are a couple of poems about self-harm and assault, eating disorders, trauma, things like that. So if you're sensitive to those things, or if you feel like that's not something that you should be reading, definitely don't put yourself in that situation. I'm so happy that you guys are here and that you're watching my video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye guys.